Hey everybody, welcome back to another Plaid Let's Paint Live, where we teach you how to paint a painting in just about an hour. Tonight I am very excited to paint along with you all. We are going to be painting this beautiful lighthouse painting to the left of me, or I guess to the right of you on the screen. This painting we painted with Father's Day in mind. This would be a super fun painting to paint with a father figure in your life, or really just anybody that you want to paint along with. Tonight we are going to be using our Plaid Let's Paint Live kit, which is listed down below, and you can also find it on plaidonline.com, along with the other gallery of our tens and dozens of Let's Paint Live paintings, where we teach you how to paint dozens and dozens of paintings in just about an hour, and we teach you some really great tips and tricks and techniques while we do it. So tonight I'm joined alongside Emily Schmidt. She's going to be moderating the comment section tonight. So if you have any questions about a color that I used or a technique that I'm doing, then please feel free to list it in the chat below. Emily will try her best to answer those questions herself in a timely manner or relay them over to me, and hopefully together we can get all of your questions answered tonight. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start painting. So I'm going to go ahead and go over our supply list of all of the paints that you'll want to have to follow along with me tonight. So of course we always recommend that you invest in our Let's Paint Live kit. It is a great kit, and once you get that kit, then you can follow along with any single Plaid Let's Paint Live painting, which is awesome. We go live here the first Thursday of every month at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We always have a blast painting, and it's really relaxing and a therapeutic way to unwind and kind of get in touch with your artistic side. So you can either get the Let's Paint Live kit, or if you just want to buy the open stock colors, then I'm going to go ahead and list which colors you'll need to follow along with me tonight. So tonight we are using Daffodil Yellow, Aqua, Apple Red, French Blue, Pure Orange, Wicker White, Thicket, Linen, and last but not least, Navy Blue. And then of course we are going to be using our 10-piece variety brush set, which comes in the Let's Paint Live kit. So if you have the Let's Paint Live kit, you don't need to worry about that. And then we're going to want to have some painter's tape, which is, I'm going to show you guys how to use a fun technique to paint our painting tonight using some painter's tape. And then I suggested that you bring with you tonight either some regular old white chalk or a pencil. I'm going to be using chalk for most of our demo today, but if you have a pencil, that'll work just fine too. And our canvas tonight is an 11 by 14 stretched canvas. And like always, I have my water basin, my wax-coated palette paper, and a stack of paper towels. And I have my handy-dandy blow dryer so that we can speed things along a little bit. But if you feel that tonight we are going a little bit too quickly for your pace, then feel free to just watch and enjoy and relax with us tonight. And then this will be saved on the platform that you are watching it on, so that you can go back and rewatch and pause and rewind at your own leisure, so that you can paint at your own pace. And of course, this is going to live on plaidonline.com as well. So it's up to you how you want to paint along with us, but let's go ahead and get started. So first off, we are going to, first of all, I guess I know we love it when we have our painting next to our blank canvas, huh? So I'm going to go ahead and do that so that we can get a good look of what we're doing. Perfect. Okay, so first off, we are going to introduce to our palette some Pure Orange and Wicker White. So first I'm going to add my Wicker White. And just a touch of our Pure Orange. We're looking to get this really beautiful kind of peachy orangey color, so we don't want to add a ton of orange, just a few drops. That's going to be perfect. And then you can take a palette knife or a 1-inch flat brush like me and go ahead and mix that really well until those two colors are nice and incorporated together.
That's such a pretty pale orange, Emma.
Yeah, isn't it? It really
reminds me of a sunset.
totally. And the great thing about our Let's Paint Lives is that if we choose a color for a background, or if we call out a specific color for really any aspect of our painting and you feel inspired to use a different color, then you absolutely can. That's the great thing about these paintings, is that they are so versatile and you can really use whatever you have in your workspace to paint along with us. So if you wanted to add a purple instead to your sunset and mix that with your blue, then you could totally do that and still get a really beautiful result. So I'm actually going to go ahead and try to offload this pretty orange color as much as I can, and then I'm going to rinse that off in my water basin, because I'm going to go ahead and use this 1.5-inch flat brush. So this is not a brush that's included in our 10-piece variety set, but you can find this brush in a base coating brush set on plaidonline.com, and it is just a really great tool to have in your painting workspace to paint things really quickly, which is what we're going to use to do tonight. So we mixed our beautiful light orange color, and now I'm going to go ahead and add some French blue to our palette, just like that. Okay, so we are going to start by picking up some French blue with our 1.5-inch flat, but if you don't have a 1.5-inch flat, please feel free to use your 1-inch flat. What we're looking for is just a nice sized flat brush so that we can blend these colors nicely together.
So Emma, Judith does have a question.
Okay.
Can you let her know, when you have a second, what the two colors are for the orange?
Yes, so the two colors that I used for the orange is wicker white and just a touch of pure orange. Okay, so what we're doing is we are just painting our French blue. So far we're about 4 inches down our canvas, just giving it a good little base coat, making sure that it is nice and covered. And the great thing about our FolkArt acrylic paint is that it's so rich and creamy, and it just brushes on beautifully and looks so opaque on our stretched canvas. Okay, so that's good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and rinse my 1.5-inch flat into my water basin. Okay, now I'm going to try to get as much of this excess water off my brush as I can, just with a paper towel. Okay, now we're going to do a very similar technique with our light orange color that we mixed together. And starting about here, so about, what do you say, 2.5 inches down, we are going to start painting that onto our canvas as well. So we're starting from the bottom, not from the top, because we want to get the purest version of this color on our canvas initially before we start blending these two colors together, because we want the bottom of our sunset here to be really, really, truly that light orange color that we mixed, because we don't want to start here and start blending our orange with our blue, because that is going to start blending those two colors together, so that by the time that it trickles down, we're not going to have that true color anymore. So we're starting from the bottom and we're working our way up to the top. Just like that. Okay, so before these two colors meet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add some more pure wicker white to our palette. Okay, so I'm going to, without rinsing my brush, offload this light orange color onto my paper towels here until I have virtually no more paint on my brush. Okay, so pretty clean brush here. Maybe wipe it off a tiny bit more. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a technique where I'm actually going to double load my brush. So in order to do that, I'm going to dip this end of my brush in my French blue, just like that. So I'm just dipping the corner. I'm not going like this. I'm just introducing the corner of my brush to our French blue so that it looks like that. And then I'm going to do the same technique on the other end of my brush into this light orange color. And then, since we added that wicker white, I'm going to go ahead and try to just get the middle portion of my brush so that we kind of have this tri-color effect. You see that? Okay, so making sure that our French blue portion of our brush is in line with our French blue portion on our canvas and so on, we are going to, actually I'm going to just dip my paint loaded brush into my clean water basin, just a dip or two, so that we can wet our brush a little bit. So with these three colors on our brush, we are about to do some blending. So this is the fun part. We are going to start here with this white line where there's no paint, and we are going to go ahead and brush on, going back and forth in as straight of a line as we can, and kind of working our way down, introducing some of that blue into the orange, and then going back up, introducing some of that orange into our blue. So we get something like that. And if you want to blend your colors even a little bit more, you can go ahead and introduce some more white to your painting. Not too much. Offload a little bit and just keep blending those two colors together. Until we reach this really lovely sunset. Okay, you guys, easy peasy, huh? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is we are done with our 1.5 inch flat for now, so I'm going to go ahead and rinse my brush. And then dry my brush off with some paper towels. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually blow dry my canvas so that it's nice and dry for our next step. Okay, you guys, so now what we're going to do is we are going to take some of our painter's tape, and I'm going to tape a straight line right where our ocean is going to meet our sunset. So about a little bit more than half of the way down, we're going to go ahead and lay down a piece of painter's tape that's as long or as wide as our canvas. Right about there. So we want to make sure that when we lay our piece of tape down, we go a little bit above where we painted, because we don't want any white spaces. We want to make sure that we're going a little bit above that orange, because we're just going to cover that up with our blue colors that we're going to paint our sea with. And whenever I apply painter's tape to a painting or anything, I just like to make sure that our tape is really flush to our surface so that no paint wants to go ahead and slide underneath our tape. Okay, so next we are going to add some navy and some aqua to our palette. So let's go ahead and do that. So similarly to mixing our light orange color, we're going to add more navy than aqua. So that much navy and then just a little touch of our aqua. And while we have our aqua out, we're also going to use the pure form of aqua. So go ahead and add an additional dollop of your aqua to the side right there. Okay, so I'm going to take my 1.5 inch flat brush and I'm going to go ahead and mix our navy and our aqua mixture together. This might be my favorite color that we mix in the entire painting. We're going to end up with a really beautiful, rich, dark teal color. Okay, so with that paint still loaded on our brush, we're going to do the same thing that we did for our sunset. I'm going to start at the top of our tape line, and I'm going to go ahead and start base coating that top there.
This color really does remind me of the ocean.
Me too, especially like the Atlantic Ocean. That deep blue color. Okay, so we're going to go just to about there, not as far as we went with our French blue in our sunset. We're going to stop about there, and I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing we did before. I'm going to, without rinsing my brush, just offload onto a paper towel as best as I can.
So Chris is chiming in saying that she loves this painting and anything ocean themed.
Me too. I am ready to go to the beach for sure. Okay, so we have basically no paint on our brush. We offloaded as much as we could, and now we're going to load some aqua onto our brush here, and we're going to start right about here where that white space starts, and we're going to do the same thing, just base coating with that aqua color. Okay, so as we are meeting our beautiful deep teal color that we created together, we are going to start blending those colors together. So for this portion, if your paint is still wet from when we added our navy color, then you can go ahead and just start blending these two colors together, or you can practice that technique that we did a little bit ago by double loading your brush. And one technique that's good to know, if you're feeling like your paint is dragging when you're trying to blend two colors together, that probably means that your paint is a little bit too dry. So I would recommend dipping your brush in some clean water. Thankfully, my water basin is still pretty clean. We still have a pretty neutral color there. So you could just go ahead and dip your paintbrush into your water basin, or just get a clean tub of water to do that. Okay, so that is looking pretty nice. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to rinse my brush in my water basin again. Okay, so let's remove our tape. Ta-da! We have that beautiful horizon line where our sun meets our beach. Lovely. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we are going to add some daffodil yellow onto our palette. Okay, and I am going, oh my goodness, I just like slug out of my hands. Okay, I'm going to take my number 12 flat, and I'm going to go ahead and dip it in my daffodil yellow here. And if you feel more comfortable using a pencil or a piece of chalk to sketch out the circle for your sun, then totally feel free to do that. But I am just going to wing it tonight, and we are going to go ahead and paint that sun. So we are going to do one swooping motion down, coming to the center, and then we are going to mirror that exact swooping motion again on the other side. So I'll show you how to do that. So starting about here, see that? So we are about, 2.5 inches down. I'm going to do that swooping motion like that, and add more paint to your brush as you need it, so that we get some really beautiful crisp lines. Lovely. Okay, now we're going to mirror that same motion we just did. Just like that. And so if your circle looks a little wonky, then do not fret. You can just go back and touch it up till you're pleased with the shape that you end up with. I'm going to go ahead and fill in my sun and really round that out.
And based on your hero image right there, you're covering part of your sun up with a cloud. So,
yep, so you don't have to be too worried. A little bit of this sun, totally like Emily said, is going to be covered with our clouds, so don't worry too much, but we're not looking for perfection. We are just looking for something that we can be happy with at the end. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and rinse off my number 12 flat. And now I'm going to go ahead and use my blow dryer again to go ahead and lock my painting in place by drying it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to add some of our linen to our palette. And then taking that's still in my water basin, taking our 1-inch flat, or sorry, our 3/4 inch flat, going to make sure that's nice and dry.
So Emma, I just want to read you a comment from Noelle.
Okay.
They say, "Thank you for teaching me. I always learn a lot from you, Emma."
Good. That makes me so happy, Noelle. Thank you for tuning in with us. It is always such a pleasure to paint along with you guys for our Let's Paint Lives. It's always so much fun, and I love hearing your comments, and I especially love seeing all of your finished paintings on our Let's Paint with Plaid group. So that is a group on Facebook, so go over and check that out for sure. It is a wonderful, very supportive community where beginner painters and experienced painters that have been painting for years love to share their artwork and techniques, and they comment on each other's pieces of art, and it's just a really lovely community. And I love seeing your finished Let's Paint Live paintings on there. So make sure to check out that group. I'm always checking under there, so I will definitely see your painting if you post it tonight, so please do. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and dip my 3/4 inch flat brush into my linen, like so. And we are going to sketch out the line of our beach. So you can see we kind of started at the left here, and we made a swoop down to kind of get some interest in our painting. And so whenever I'm making clean lines like that with a flat brush, I like to hold my brush perpendicular to my canvas and just initially make that kind of sketch. And then once we go ahead and make our sketch, then I like to fill it in. Okay, let's go ahead and fill in our beach to the very bottom of our painting.
So Emma, I just want you to know that I put into the description the link to that Facebook page, and then I also put in the link for the kit that you're using because we had some questions about it in the comments.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily.
A lot of people didn't even know about this kit, so it's exciting to be able
Great.
to share this with them and see how they can be applied into a really cool beachy themed painting.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are just hearing about our Let's Paint Live kit for the very first time, or if you are just tuning in, we have a wonderful Let's Paint Live kit with an assortment of FolkArt acrylic paints and this wonderful 10-piece artist variety brush set. And if you go ahead and pick up that Let's Paint Live kit, then you can go to plaidonline.com/Let's Paint and go to our Let's Paint Live tab, and you will have a gallery of these Let's Paint Live classes to choose from. There are dozens and dozens of paintings that you can follow along with us and paint in just about an hour. And it is for all skill levels. It is from beginner to intermediate to advanced painters. Everyone will have a really fun time painting along, so that is a great investment to go ahead and just pick up the Let's Paint Live kit so that you can follow along with us the first Thursday of every month. Okay, so we painted in our linen beach. So I'm going to go ahead and we still have some wicker white onto our palette. If you don't, then go ahead and place some more wicker white down. But we're going to go ahead and start making some of these clouds. So I'm going to set aside my 3/4 inch flat, and I'm actually going to go ahead and grab our 3/4 inch scruffy brush. So this is a brush that comes in our 10-piece variety pack, which is in our Let's Paint Live kit. If you don't have this, then I would recommend using a sponge or a stencil brush or any type of brush where you're going to have some irregularities in your bristles. We don't want something that's super dense like this. We want to have some light, fluffy bristles. So our scruffy brush is perfect for this next technique. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up some of our wicker white like that, and I'm actually going to offload some of that wicker white just onto our wax coated palette paper. And if you don't know what offloading is, and I'm about to tell you, it is when we load some paint onto our brush, which is just when we pick up some paint on our brush, and then we go ahead and we dab, 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 or we wipe, 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 trying to get some of that excess paint off of our brush so that we're just left with barely any paint on our brush. So that's what we're looking for. As you can see, my scruffy brush had quite a bit of paint on it, now not so much. And what we're going to do is we are going to, in a perpendicular dabbing motion, we are going to dab our brush onto our canvas, right where our sun is, as you can see in our finished painting, and then a little bit above that to the left. So when I'm making these clouds, I like to go ahead and establish the shape of my clouds before I really try to make them look pretty, if that makes sense. So starting a little bit off of the canvas, I'm going to dab, 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 kind of making an arch, and then coming back down so that it looks something like that. Okay? Maybe make it a tiny bit longer. And I'm going to do the same thing, just flipped upside down, starting a little bit off, dab, 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 making an arch coming down, and then coming back up and meeting that line. So we're running out of paint, so go ahead again and put some more paint on your brush and then offload. And we're going to keep dabbing until we get that opacity that we want to see in our big white fluffy clouds. So now I'm going to fill in the center a little bit, picking up more paint. Okay, so when we get to this point where we're pretty pleased with the shape of our cloud, I'm going to pick up a little bit of our paint, I'm going to offload a little, and then I'm going to do just kind of this swirling motion, just so we really kind of see a little bit more opacity in our paint. It's not a dabbing motion, we're just kind of swirling.
That's making a big difference, Emma.
Yeah, so that really is kind of seals the deal. And maybe I'll go out here a little bit, just kind of make my cloud look a little bit more irregular. Then we can kind of come off on the sides, dab, 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 just like that. And now we're going to do the same thing. I'm actually going to add a little bit more wicker white onto my palette. Going to do the same thing again, right over our sun. Beautiful. Okay, so when you are pleased with your clouds, you can go ahead and rinse off that scruffy brush. Okay, now for the fun part, you guys. We're going to break out our tape again, and we are going to actually tape off the shape of our lighthouse. So I'm going to unravel a strip of tape that's about, as wide as our canvas here. And I am just eyeballing it. I want to start, you know what, actually I'm getting ahead of myself because I can see that my linen is glistening a little bit, so that means it's still a little bit damp. So really quickly, I'm just going to go ahead and blow dry my beach. Okay, perfect. So, like we were about to do, I am going to start kind of at the corner of the bottom left corner of our canvas here, going a little bit at an angle. You guys can kind of see in our finished lighthouse here just about as far as we need to go. So we're not trying to make too drastic of an angle because then our lighthouse will look like a triangle and less like a...
It's the leaning lighthouse.
Right, we don't want the leaning lighthouse of Pisa tonight. So that's just about good. We want that kind of angle. And if I were any good at math, then I would try to guesstimate what that angle was, but I'm not even going to try. Okay, so you have any guesses, Emily?
No, I was just going to say that people could put their guesses in the comment section below.
Yeah, go ahead and guess what degree angle you think that is. We'll get all of our math nerds to comment tonight.
I love that.
Okay, so same thing on the other side. We don't
That's
want to
the
make
hard
it too
part
wide.
is trying to replicate it on the other
mirror
side.
it.
Yep.
Absolutely. So again, don't stress yourself out, you guys. The last thing we want to do is get stressed out during some of our Let's Paint lives. We're supposed to be having fun. I hope everyone's having fun.
We're having a lot of fun.
So don't feel too stressed. If it's not perfect, we don't want it to be perfect. Our beaches are, they're organic, they're natural in nature. So if a beach was totally perfect looking, then it would look a little bit funny. And we want kind of a weathered looking lighthouse. So if your lighthouse shape isn't perfect, then it's even better. But I'm pleased with the angles that we are getting here tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and lock that down just by rubbing my fingers on the tape, making sure that our tape is really flush to our surface. We don't want any paint getting underneath our tape, just like before.
Martha says she has no guesses either.
Okay, well, thanks for chiming in, Martha. You are in the same boat as us.
Yes.
Okay, and just for good measure, I'm just going to tape off that top as well. Like so. Perfect. Okay, so you can either take your chalk or your pencil to sketch out some of these curves that are going to be the stripes of our lighthouse. But if you're feeling bold, then you can go ahead and just start painting, which is what we are going to do. So we are going to go ahead and add some apple red to our palette.
And I just wanted people to know that there is a full list of all the products for this project in the description.
Awesome.
So if they have any questions about what colors are being used, that they could just click that link and they'll see everything written out in detail.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Emily. Okay, so as you can see in our finished painting here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stripes of our lighthouse, but it's totally up to you. Your lighthouse can have 3 stripes, it can have 16 stripes, whatever you're feeling. We're going to dip our brush in our apple red, and starting at our top left corner, I'm going to touch down on my tape, and I'm going to, in a swooping motion with quite a bit of paint on my brush, I'm going to repeat that. Swooping motion to get the curvature of our lighthouse stripes going. So now that we kind of have the basic shape of the swoop that we're looking for, I'm going to continue to the side and I'm going to make my stripes a little bit wider, trying to replicate that same angle of the swoop that we just made. Okay, and then we're going to keep doing that until you are happy with the width of your stripe. And I'm going to do it above our initial stripe there too. Just like that, okay? So you can either go ahead and rinse your brush and go ahead and start filling in the white, or if you don't want to rinse your brush, we are not going to tonight, you can go ahead and skip some space. You can mark it with a pencil or a piece of chalk if you want to, and we're going to make our next red stripe. So starting about 2 inches away, 1.5 inches or so, we're going to continue with that same curvature that we made initially, and we are going to start on the tape again, and we're going to make that swoop and then come back and meet where we started.
So Emma, I wanted to tell you that we have a viewer watching us from Australia.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, that's so cool. So we're international tonight. And if y'all would like to post in the comments where you're from, we'd love to know.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so same thing as before. We are just adding to our stripe until we get the width that we desire. Okay, and then you can see on our finished painting we have a little piece of red poking out. So I'm going to do that too.
Wow, we've got a lot of people chiming in now. We've got Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Canada, New York, lots of different places, North Carolina.
Awesome. Well, it's such an honor to have you all watching tonight. I hope that you are enjoying our tutorial. I would love to see your finished painting. So like we said, Emily went ahead and posted that group, our Let's Paint group, where you can post your finished creations. I will be looking to see them all, but if you don't want to do that and you just want to post it on your own social media, then you can go ahead and do that and hashtag Plaid Crafts. We're also looking under there, so there's a good chance that we're gonna see it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and rinse my brush, and filling in those blank spaces that we left blank, I'm gonna do the same exact technique with our wicker white. And as you guys can see, I am actually using the edge of my flat brush to make those really crisp lines. I'm just holding the edge of my brush perpendicular to my canvas. But if you feel more comfortable using a liner brush or a round brush to make some of those lines, you can feel free to do that. Or you don't even have to use those really precise lines. You can just go ahead and use your flat brush and hold it flat and go ahead and just paint.
I think it's looking great so far, Emma.
Thanks, Emily. Okay, I'm going to actually go ahead and add just a little bit more wicker white to our palette.
And what's great about this kit is that even though it's 2 ounces, you get so much paint in those 2 ounces that you could do so many paintings with it.
Absolutely. That's the great thing about our FolkArt acrylic paint, is that it is so beautiful and rich and creamy. You get that really nice opacity that you would want to paint something like this. So just like Emily said, totally, you don't have to use a ton of paint. A little bit goes a really long way. So if you invest in that Let's Paint Live kit, then you can paint so many different paintings with us.
Martha said that she thinks it looks great too, and she's loving the tips for painting the lighthouse.
Awesome. Thanks, Martha.
It's really going to come to life when you pull off that tape.
I totally agree. And we are almost there. That is so satisfying. I love watching those videos on TikTok and Instagram of like people removing tape after they're done like painting houses or something, or really just any type of artwork. Oh, I love those videos. Got a little bit of white there.
We have somebody saying that they're really excited to paint this with their daughter this weekend.
I love that. That is wonderful. I love hearing about who you guys are planning on painting with, maybe who you're gifting your painting to. That always makes my day. Okay, what is next? What is next? So we are going to go ahead and start adding a little bit of detail to our stripes now. So in order to do that, I'm going to take a little bit of my apple red and I'm going to mix it into my wicker white so that we get this nice light rosy color. Okay, and holding our brush perpendicular again, we are going to make a line like that. Hold it up so you guys can see that little pink. And we're going to keep doing that, going back and forth, kind of blending it in, and our lines are getting shorter and shorter as we come up to where our red stripe meets our white stripe. Just like that. So I'm going to keep doing that to our repeating red lines. So making that long stripe at the very bottom, and then as we work our way up to the top, our stripes get softer and softer. And you will be able to tell because our red paint, our apple red, is still a little bit damp because we just painted it. It's going to blend in with this beautiful rosy color that we're adding just beautifully. So last thing here, we are just adding just a touch of that beautiful detail. Just like that. Okay? So now I'm going to rinse my brush again. And we are going to do something very similar to our white stripes. Make sure your brush is nice and dry. I'm going to take a little bit of my navy, add it to my palette, just a touch, and I'm going to take some of my wicker white, and we are going to blend now a little too much navy, you guys. We are going to now mix together a really nice pale blue.
I love the variety of colors you're also getting with these few bottles that you have, and there's so much depth to the color story.
Yeah, totally, Emily. And that's another great thing. I know we can't stop talking about our FolkArt acrylic paint because we love it so much, of course, but they're so easy to blend, they're so easy to mix, so that's another great aspect of these paints. Okay, same thing as before with our rosy pink, except instead of starting at the bottom, we're going to start at the top and work our way down. So making that initial stripe like that. And I should mention too, just go ahead and make sure that your brush is pretty offloaded. Mine wasn't as offloaded as I wished for it to be. So make sure that you have really just barely any paint on your brush. And then same technique as we come up instead of down, we are going to make those lines shorter and shorter, blending it into our white. And we went over this a little bit. If you're not happy with how your paint is blending in, you can go ahead and add some clean water. I have some jar clean water here. Thank you, Emily.
You're welcome.
And we can rinse, or not really rinse, but just dip our brush in that water. We don't want it too wet where it's going to be dripping down our painting, but just so that we can have some really beautiful blending going on in our painting, just like that. Okay, so with barely any blue, we're going to keep going because we just want to add some interest into our painting.
Emma, I just want to note that I think that this is a really great tip for people that don't know how to necessarily put light on their projects. And so this alternating of the light on the bottom, dark on the top, I think that this helps people know where to begin.
Absolutely, Emily. I hope that that's coming across at least. That's one of my favorite things about these Let's Paint Lives is that in an hour, you always walk away with at least one new technique that you can be confident about. And if it's, you know, lighting, sources of lighting and how to incorporate that into your paintings, if it's a new way to make clouds, if it's a new way to make the centers of your flowers, if it's how to use a palette knife. We cover so many different techniques and lessons in our Let's Paint Live. So every single time that you follow along with us, you will learn something brand new, hopefully, about painting, or at least you'll definitely have fun with us. So either way, you're gonna walk away happy, right? Okay, so I'm gonna rinse my brush. And the moment we've all been waiting for, I'm gonna go ahead and remove our tape.
Wow.
Last one. All right. Okay, so it's looking pretty good so far. Now we're going to, where did my little piece of chalk go? In the trash can, that's where it went. So I'm gonna get my piece of chalk and we're gonna sketch out the top of our lighthouse. So this is gonna be pretty simple. All we're gonna do is we're gonna make little comma marks, just like that. Okay, so if you're not pleased with your initial stroke, go back and do it again. That's why we're using chalk. And the reason I'm using chalk instead of a pencil is because I just find that, especially if your paint is a tiny bit tacky, chalk is a lot easier to get off than pencil, but a pencil will totally work as well. You can just erase it or you can go over it with some more paint. So we're making those bigger comma strokes mirrored on the very top of our lighthouse, and then on top of those comma strokes, we're gonna just make some smaller ones, just like that. And just really the main thing that we're looking for is we want it to be pretty symmetrical, okay? Okay, all right, so now that we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and again take my number 12 flat and I'm gonna dip that into my navy. First, I'm gonna add more navy.
You've used quite a bit.
I know, I'm a navy fiend. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and fill in those chalk marks. But before I do that, I'm just gonna go ahead and use my flat brush. I have confidence in you all. Don't be nervous with this next step. We are going to make a straight line on the tippy top of our lighthouse. Just if you need to anchor your wrist to your painting, feel free to do that. Or if you feel like you need to break out the tape again, whatever you feel comfortable with, then please feel free to do that. But we're going to make that straight line just so we don't have to think about it later. Okay, now that that's over, we are going to go ahead and make those comma marks, those C strokes. Boop, boop. Perfect. Mirror that on the other side. And then come up and make those little baby ones. You know, we painted this painting with Father's Day in mind, so this would be a great gift to give to your dad or your father figure. I remember one year we did around Father's Day time a Let's Paint Live of a really beautiful just lake landscape, and I brought both of my sisters to the Let's Paint Live when we were doing it like a little Let's Paint Live party here at Plaid, and we did it with a crowd, and all three of us participated in the Let's Paint Live. And we had the plan to all give identical paintings to our dad for Father's Day. So, you know, he opened the first painting and he was like, wow, you guys painted this? This is so beautiful. I love it so much. And then he opened the next one and he was like, wow, you went too? This is beautiful too. But then by the third one, he was like, what am I going to do with all these paintings? All of these identical paintings.
That's funny.
He still has them though. That's because he loves us. Okay, so without rinsing my brush, I'm going to go ahead and take some of my, really for this part, you can either go with your wicker white or your French blue. It depends on the depth of color that you're looking for. I'm going to take my wicker white and, you know, because I have some navy on my brush, I'm going to just mix those two colors together. Okay? And right where our baby commas meet our bigger commas, we're gonna make a, with holding our brush perpendicular, that's how I'm making my straight lines tonight. If you feel more comfortable making your straight lines with a different brush or a different technique, then feel free to do that. But I'm going to hold it perpendicular, and where these two shapes intersect, I'm gonna make that straight line, holding it perpendicular. And as I come across, I'm going to trace this comma and swoop down, and then I'm going to repeat that so that the as I'm coming across this comma, my stroke gets a little bit wider like that. And following the same technique, we're going to do that again at the top, making that straight line, holding our brush perpendicular, swooping down and widening that light. Okay, just adding a little bit of interest into our painting. Okay, so I'm going to rinse that brush. Okay. Okay, so now, just like we did our sun, taking our wicker white, we're going to make a circle again. So we're going to make a circle that's going to be our light with our wicker white. So in order to do that, we are going to make a swooping motion, coming down, making that circle, and then mirroring that onto the other side. Just like that. Then we're going to fill that in with our wicker white. Okay, so while our white is still a little bit damp, without rinsing my brush, I'm going to pick up that daffodil yellow from earlier because I still have some white on my brush. I'm actually going to introduce a little bit more of my wicker white, a little bit more, until we get a really nice light yellow. And I'm going to, along the edge of our light here, I'm going to do another little C-stroke on our left side here, and that is really just to differentiate our white light from our white clouds, because we really don't want those blending in together like that. So just a little bit of that. Maybe even introduce some more wicker white. Make sure that's nice and blended. Beautiful. Okay, so now I'm going to rinse my brush. Okay, and I'm actually going to go ahead and blow dry this. Okay, you guys, so again, we want to grab our sketching tool, whatever you have on hand, whether it's a piece of chalk or a pencil, and we're going to draw this little cage that is surrounding our lighthouse light. So if you are feeling bold, you can go ahead and paint this right ahead, but I don't know if I'm feeling that bold tonight. So I'm going to use my chalk, and starting at the kind of edge of our baby comma stroke, I'm going to come up, come across right at a little bit above our light, but not too much. And then I'm going to try to mirror the angle of that line that we did on the left side at the top, or at the right side there, okay? Make a little mark so we know where the center is for that little circle on top. And then I'm going to, in the center of that, mark a line, and then make those additional lines. So we're going to have 2 lines on the either side. So we have our left line, our right line, and then we want to have 3 lines in between. So a total of 5 lines. Sound good? Okay, now I'm going to take my number 8 flat. I'm going to go ahead and actually get it wet in my water basin. And because by now your water should look a little similar to mine, so it's a little bit blue, which is totally fine because we are going to dip our brush in our water to dampen our navy. So we're introducing blue to blue, and it's totally fine that our water's a little bit blue. Okay, and so continuing with our method of making straight lines tonight, I'm going to hold my brush again perpendicular to my canvas, and I'm going to follow those chalk marks that we made and make that portion of our lighthouse. And I'm calling it a cage, but I feel like it's definitely not called a cage. So if you know what this what this part of a lighthouse is called, please let us know. And another thing to note is that the more pressure that you put down on your brush when you're making lines like this, the thicker your lines are going to end up. So as you can see, I am going really, really light. I'm applying a very, very light amount of pressure to my brush. So that's why my lines are looking pretty thin, but I'll show you guys. If you were to apply more pressure like this, then your lines would be a lot thicker. Okay, so it's really just a preference thing if you want your lines to be thin or thick.
They're windows.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So all lighthouses have a beacon or a light at the top, and the beacon is housed in a room with large windows.
Okay.
So it's called a lantern room.
That sounds way better than a cage.
And it's topped with a domed roof called a cupola.
Okay.
Cupola.
Okay.
And a spiral staircase provides a way to climb to the top of the tower.
Okay. That makes sense. You learn something new every Let's Paint Live.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We're always learning the parts of a flower. We're learning the parts of a bird. Tonight we're learning the parts of a lighthouse. Okay, so now I'm taking my number 6 flat, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint that little circle by holding my brush perpendicular at the center of where I want my circle, and I'm just going to spin it, spinning my brush till we get a nice little circle. Touch them up. Perfect. Okay guys, one last step. I'm going to add some thicket to my palette. And continuing with actually introducing my number 10 flat, I'm going to dip that in my thicket, and then I'm going to, not with the intent to offload, but I'm going to swipe the sides of my brush onto my palette because I really want to sharpen the tip of my brush so that we end up with some really clean lines. And holding our brush perpendicular to our canvas, we're going to go ahead and start painting some of that grass. So just regarding the layout of our grass, I like to start with some of my taller grass first so that I can really see how I want my structure to look in the end. And just like we talked about before, one thing to know before we start this is that the heavier handed you are with your brush strokes, then the wider your strokes are going to be, and the lighter your brush strokes are, then the thinner your brush strokes are going to be. So just something good to keep in mind. And if you want to start at the bottom and work your way up to the top, or if you want to start at the top and work your way down, totally up to you. I'm going to start at the top, work my way down. Just like that. So we're making those taller ones at first, introducing a few tall ones. And it's up to you if you want to overlap your lighthouse a little bit. Okay, and I like to kind of make them look organic, like they would naturally live in a bunch. So I'm going to do that. So now that I have my tallest ones, I'm going to go ahead and really start filling in some of this blank space with some shorter blades of grass. And I like them to kind of crisscross, intersect. We want it to look wild. We want this to look like a beautiful, majestic beach. Making some X's so that it looks really random and natural. Keeping in mind we want just a couple of bunches. Don't forget this side. Okay, so we're going to do a couple more strands here. Okay. And now, just so we really kind of fill our bottom space here so that it doesn't look naked, without too much paint on our brush, I'm just going to kind of loosely dab, 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 brush down, boop, 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 really randomly, just so it looks like this space is a little bit full, just like that. Same thing on the other side, just like that. And if you've ever joined us for Let's Paint Live before, then you know that we have one last thing to do. So taking our favorite color that we mixed, or your favorite original FolkArt color, go ahead and pick up some of that paint. I'm going to go for this pretty rosy color that we used in our lighthouse. And don't forget to sign your painting. All right, you guys. And here we have our finished lighthouse painting, our June Let's Paint Live. So you guys, thank you so much for tuning in with me tonight. It is always a pleasure to paint with you all. I hope to see your paintings on our Let's Paint with Plaid group, our Facebook group. Don't forget that if you want to go ahead and rewatch this video, then it's going to live on YouTube and Facebook and plaidonline.com for you to rewatch at your own leisure. If you want to buy our Let's Paint Live kit, then it's listed down below, and you can also go to plaidonline.com/letspaint to find it there. Again, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we will be here next month for our July Let's Paint Live, where Kirsten Jones will be joined with us to paint
beach waves.
Yep. Yes. I think beach waves, making waves.
Making waves.
And it is beautiful. And you should go to plaidonline.com to check it out because it is a good one. And Kirsten is a very talented painter, so I'm definitely excited to tune into that one. So thank you guys for joining us.